Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We just got done finishing the clients, and now we're going to be talking about the vendors. Now, with vendors, it's going to be a very short video because it's actually very similar to the employee section that we had covered in a previous video. If you didn't see that, definitely make sure to go ahead and check that video out, as well as if you're on YouTube, I'll go ahead and flash a card up here at the top so you'll be able to click on that and get to it quickly. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the vendor section, cover some of the differences between the vendors versus the employees, as well as some of the similarities. So we're going to go and close the client's screen for now, and we're going to hop on into the vendor screen. So we're going to hit that close button there, and we're going to go to view and number 8, vendors. So it says again the whole wizard thing, and make sure read the help files to understand each field. That's what I'm going to be helping you out today. So vendor ID, the same exact thing as employee ID. On certain lined out invoices and certain lined out reports, this could potentially be public. So make sure that you do go ahead and choose an appropriate ID there. Now, if you notice here though, with vendor, the only thing actually required to put in for a vendor is the vendor ID. And again, how do we know that? By that blue indication of the text. So vendor ID and then a blank field. So that is required. Notice how first and last name is actually not required for a vendor. It's only the vendor ID that is required. There is also the fields of the bill rate and pay rate, if you remember the employee screen on that rate tab, that are also required here. We have the bill rate and pay rate that are also required. Now, again, just like before, with a vendor, you may be using a vendor as more like a subcontractor, like an employee, where they're technically a vendor or a subcontractor or an IC, independent contractor, and you're using them like an employee. They kind of put in time like an employee, but they're technically and legally and tax purpose-wise, they're nothing but an IC, an independent contractor. So at this point in time, you're going to definitely want to make sure you do kind of the bill rate, pay rate deal and all that fun stuff. If they're strictly an IC, then they're only going to ever bill you at one rate. So in this particular case, I know I said in the employee screen to go ahead and put a bill rate A1, and I said I'll explain that later on when we get into fee schedules and rate cards. That's definitely true. But if you are using them as a straight up independent contractor, they're going to only ever have one bill rate for any job. And when they update their bill rate, they may only have a bill rate no matter what they do when they work. So when they work for you, they're going to bill you at whatever bill rate no matter what job they're working on. And also no matter what time, when they up their bill rate, your bill rate goes up for all your jobs. If that is the case, then I would definitely recommend that you fill the bill rate out here. Now, if they're like an employee where, for example, they only work at a certain rate on certain jobs or whatever, I recommend you do the same thing as you did on the employee screen and put $1 here. Again, if they're an employee like-ish, where they're having a specific rate on a specific project and they're inputting time for you, or you're taking their time from their vendor bill and inputting it into the system, either way, but the specific rate for a specific job, I highly recommend that you put the rate at $1 and control that rate through the fee schedules or rate cards. If they are an independent contractor that just simply will up their bill rate at any given time, and it's whatever the bill rate is what you must pay them, and it doesn't matter what the job is, then go ahead and put that specified rate here. Again, with an independent contractor, whatever they bill, they normally get paid, and maybe not necessarily. You might have a deal with them where you pay them $30 an hour, but you might bill them at $40 an hour on one job, $52 an hour on another job. So definitely put the pay rate at truly what it is. But if, again, it changes by project even, you can even leave the pay rate here as $1. And there's a specific reason why I'm mentioning that, and it's for basically error checking later on to help you guys out. But at the current moment, I definitely recommend that you write your bill rate there and write your pay rate there accordingly to what we just discussed. Now, back on the general tab. Again, vendor ID could be publicly exposed. Doesn't necessarily mean it will be. but it's mostly for an internal reference. Some reports and some invoices will show the ID. A lot of the reports will show the ID, but your invoices, it's very few. But if there are those invoices that you are listing out their entries, they will show the ID on some of them. So make sure that whatever ID you put in there, in case you go to select an invoice template that's like that, that is publicly acceptable. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and put here, for example, XYZ Consulting, and I'm going to go ahead and put just XYZ Consulting as well for the, let's see, XYZ Consulting, come on. And I hired this whole firm. There might be multiple different people, but to my customer, there's only one thing, and that's XYZ Consulting. So no matter who works at this other firm, I'm going to put their hours in or vendor billing according to such. So for example, I'm just going to go ahead and leave the name, first name and last name blank. I'm going to go over to the rate. And this independent contractor, no matter what they do, I always bill them out at 50 and I always pay them 50. Simple as that. I do a straight wash with this contractor for this example. So you can fill all this other detail out. Again, strictly informational. It's a good thing to have it here so you have it all in one place to look at. You might be able to do some attachments. We'll talk about that at a later point. We'll do another video. But you might be able to do any of this stuff, fill it out for more information for yourself to collect it all in one place. None of it is required. The only thing that would be required, it would be login, and that would only be if you were going to apply security for them and allow them actually to log into your system to actually enter in time or expense. So for that being said, this vendor is not going to do any of that. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the save button, and I've created my first vendor. So hopefully that explains it to you guys. Hopefully you guys are, understand that. If you guys have any questions, you can see it's very similar to the employee screen. If you have any questions, definitely drop a comment down below or email us, depending on where you're watching this video, and we'll be more than happy to help you guys out, kind of explain a little bit more of the differences. If you look at the rate tab, again, very similar, different expense currency, everything is pretty much the same. I went through this video strictly trying to explain the differences between employee and between the vendor. Again, if you have any questions, leave that comment. Make sure you smash on that like button if you liked it, dislike if you didn't like it, and definitely by all means hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. As always, until the next video, see you guys.